Hello, everybody. This is Derek Perigo, your Anatomy and Physiology Field Marketing Manager, and Terry Austin, our Faculty Advisor Extraordinaire. And today we're going to take you through dynamic study modules, A&P style. Terry has given numerous presentations to faculty and have seen him wow them with his description of dynamic study modules. I think he does the best presentation of them that I've seen. So without further ado, Terry, take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks, Derek. And what I'll be showing you today is dynamic study modules. This is the perfect solution for that instructor that Derek describes as that door number one person, the person who's just getting comfortable with technology. These work great actually for all the levels above that as well, but this is what I like to call a set it and forget it solution. Dynamic study modules are one of two adaptive products that we're using. This one is available here on the right-hand side of the instructor's course home. And as I zoom in here, you can see that the link to copy these modules into your course is right there. It's quite simple, and in a moment I'll show you that. But before I do that, I want to talk about this teeny tiny little torch icon. Dynamic study modules is one of my favorite things to describe. This is actually a product that is a partnership with a company called Amplifier. An Amplifier is a three-part team. I don't know if this is three individuals or three groups, but you'll love this. The first member of the team is a learning specialist, and, you know, kind of go figure, that's exactly what we would want with somebody creating a learning tool like we're about to see. The second team member, near and dear to my heart, is a neuroscientist. I happen to be a neuroscientist. I am indeed a brain researcher by training, and you'll see the input of each of these team members. The third team member is a gaming specialist, and we're going to see what each of those brought to the table as we create this. So very quickly, I'm going to show you how to add an assignment, and then we'll go in and actually play with one. So I'm going to click on Copy Modules to Assign here. Here we're in the assignment area, and all I've got to do is pick a chapter. I'm going to pick chapter 10 because I've got some chapter 9 stuff up there for you. And you'll see the various chapter sections. So if there's a chapter section that your instructor is not using, they can simply skip those all together. I'm going to put in module 1, and we'll come over here and drop that in on, let's put it in on next Tuesday. And I'll just click Save, and that has actually now been added to my calendar. So if I go back to the course home, you can see there's that module that I just dropped in. So assigning these is actually very easy. You can even, and as long as I've gotten into the working on putting the assignments in, you can even let the instructor know that they can actually edit out questions. So I'm going to click this assignment, and here in the Edit panel, we have the opportunity to modify module questions. So I'm going to click that, and the instructor will see all of the questions that are available in this dynamic study module, and if there's a topic they don't cover, they can actually remove that. And that's a question you're likely to hear a lot from instructors. Can I take out some of the questions that I don't like? And the answer is quite easily yes. So all I've got to do is sort through here and select Modify, and they can read questions, and they can even toggle these open and see what these are like. And I'll tell you, this is kind of a super secret weapon. You can even use this as a quick way to preview. This is a full view of what the students might see. So I can review this one. We can return to that list. Here, all we have to do is decide, you know, I don't want that question in the list. This one's good. This one's good. I don't want that one, and save it. And now the instructor has modified. By the way, you'll notice there's a little comment here. You can uncheck questions to remove them from module, keeping a minimum of 14. In other words, they can't just remove all but 2 or 3. They've got to have at least 14 in order for the adaptive part of this module to work. So I've removed a couple. You can see the checkboxes of ones that are no longer with us. I'm going to save that, and we now have a personally modified module so the instructor can pick and choose just the questions they want as long as they leave a minimum number behind. That's kind of cool, but let me show you the real fun with dynamic study modules in seeing how they work for the student. So I'm going to select this very first one, Chapter 9, the first module. And as I open this up, we're going to get the student view. Selecting the student view, we can see how the students are going to actually interact with this product. Now, here's the first question. We haven't answered anything yet, but I want to tell you a little bit about the 3 team members I was talking about. One of those members, and again, that one that is nearest and dearest to my heart, is the neuroscientist and the anatomy physiology instructors who teach anything at all about the nervous system and how the brain works will know, and you can even point this out as you're talking with them, that humans have short-term memory, and we tend to have between 7 and 8 working memory bins or buckets. In other words, I can give you a list of 3 or 4 items, and you can remember that list of 3 or 4 items, no problem at all. But if I give you a list of 18 or 20 items, there's no way for you to remember that. That's not how your short-term memory works. The reason that is important is we're going to see between 6 and 8 questions before we see any explanations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through the first set of questions. I don't know if I'm going to get 6 or 7 or 8. It's going to be in that ballpark, and then we'll have the chance to see the explanations. The reason for this is we keep the students' attention focused, and they can see exactly where they need help as soon as we do the first set of questions. So I'm going to answer a few questions. I'm going to get a few right. I'm going to get a few wrong. I'm going to say I don't know every once in a while. But let me just here pick my first answer. I've got a picture. This happens to be a picture from the textbook, by the way. And I'm being asked to indicate the structure indicated by A, and happen to know what that is, but I'm going to say endomysium, and now we have a tutorial. The student only sees this one single time, and it's when they answer their first question of their first dynamic study module. And what you want to see here is basically where it's being explained. This is not a straight up multiple choice question. This is actually a question where you have 2 votes. And the student decides how to use those 2 votes. And what it's explaining here is click once if you're not sure and twice if you are sure. So I've selected that answer. I'm also going to select this answer. And, oh, we got to continue. And as I hit that answer, I've picked, and I've said it's one of these 2 things. I'm not sure. I'm unsure about this. If I was certain, I could double click. So a double click fills in the circle twice, and 2 clicks and individual circles kind of split the difference. So these are my 2 votes. And this will be important in a minute as we're looking at the results. So let me hit the submit on that answer. And holy moly, oh, I wasn't paying attention. This is telling me that I'm not sure, and I just flat out got it wrong. So let's move on to the next question. Which of the following characteristics is unique to smooth muscle? It has the absence of striations. It has no striations. I'm absolutely certain of that, but I'm also going to select response to stretch. See, I'm splitting the difference there again. Now, this is a feature that is the influence of our gaming specialist. Think about this for just a minute. If you were the student who just gave this answer, it says one of your answers is right. What do you want to know? Well, you want to know which one. And the short answer is here, we're not going to tell you yet. So the gaming specialist knows that these little teaser moments are very effective at keeping the student engaged. This is actually poking the dopamine system in the brain, the reward system that keeps you going. This is a bit like the little old lady sitting in the casino with a cigarette in her left hand and the lever of the slot machine in her right hand. There's just enough bells and whistles to keep them going, and that's exactly what's just happened here. Let's keep going. I'm going to say I don't know on this one. Which of the following looks equal? Let's say that one or that one. I'm going to say that. I got that completely wrong. I'm going to, without even reading, answer that, and I was right. Now, here's a nice little fun feature. This is another little influence of our neuroscientist. We got a really nice pat on the back. This only happens when you get the first correct answer the first time doing dynamic study modules. We just completed our first right answer, and we got this cool little pat on the back. Moving on, and all I really want to do is finish this first session to show you the next best thing about dynamic study modules. I am going to, without even reading, pick these 2 answers, and I got one of them right. I got lucky because I didn't even read that. And I'm going to say I'm certain on that one, and I was wrong. Kind of did that on purpose. And now look at the pop-up. The pop-up says, let's go learn. Here, folks, is where dynamic study modules really, really shines. The student has seen this first set of questions, and as I hit learn, I'm going to get explanations for everything. On this question, I was wrong. I was just flat wrong. It's telling me what the right answer was, but even better, scroll down. We have text and pictures. This is not only textbook specific, this is text from the book. And this is a figure from the book. So exactly the part they need to understand this question that they missed is brought right to them. And as I scroll down, you can notice something I've not pointed out yet. There are links down here to go to the iTunes App Store and the Google Play Store. We're doing this on a computer, but this exact experience is also available on our mobile devices. And even better, the system keeps track of where they are, not the device, the system. So the student can start this sitting in the dorm room and then hop in a taxi, hop in a campus bus, and ride on to their class, finishing this on their mobile. Let's see some more explanations. Here's another one that I answered. I got this one wrong too. And here is, again, a figure from the book with exactly the explanation we need. This one didn't need much text, but there's a figure showing exactly what I needed to know. This one, again, we get to review with a picture, looking at the next question we looked at. Again, we have some text. This one didn't need a picture, so it brings them exactly what they need. Sometimes it's text, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's a combination of both of those. But the important thing to reinforce to the instructors is bringing in that section of the book that they need right there. I've actually seen other systems from other companies that at this point would be saying, please go find your book and turn to page 427. That's nonsense. This is all right here where they need it, when they need it. I'm going to flip
So Terry,
these.
not to interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt.
No, we're good.
So this basically, for everyone who's listening, this is where the book is actually downloaded into the system. So the book is there. And not only that, but the specific parts of the book that they want their students to read and understand. It's completely customizable. Difference between this system and other systems is that the professor has more control over weeding out the things that they don't really want them to read. And another bonus is on campus, you hear professors saying, hey, I just want them to read something. I want them to get into the book and I want them reading. And they want a tool for that. This is that tool. Terry, when do you usually assign dynamic study modules?
I am so glad you asked that. These actually, for me, are pre-lecture assignments. I know other instructors who use them post-lecture, and they're actually really good for that. But for me, I know if my students have gone through and answered this, that they have absolutely had to have opened the book. And I tell my students up front, look, this is kind of free points. All you have to do is open the assignment, get out your book, look at the question, take your time, flip through and find the answers. But they walk into my classroom and I don't see those glazed over stares. I see people who are engaged, and they now in the lecture actually ask me pointed questions about the material that clearly indicates they've read. So this for me is a pre-lecture activity. It's perfectly fine post-lecture too, but for me it's the way I know my students are prepped. So I can actually look in the grade book and see how they've done on individual questions and know that they've read the book. So thanks for that question, Derek. Also note at the bottom of this, I've done reviewing that first set of questions, and I've got a couple of choices. One of those is review correct answers. I can go back and look at those again, or I can keep on going. I'm not going to go on to the next set of questions, but I do want to scroll to the top and show you. I'm going to zoom in for you here. Right here in this top corner, we have the little progress bar. We have gone about a third to a quarter of the way through these questions here, and there is a pop-down menu that I can open here, and it tells me that at the rate I've been going, the system thinks it's going to take this student about 25 minutes to finish. Here's kind of a progress report. I'm not always answering correctly, and it's telling me I'm kind of in the yellow. I'm not in terrible shape, but I'm not golden either. Over here, in this report, I have mastered one question. That means I got one question perfectly right, putting both my votes on it. I was completely wrong on some. I've got 6 that are in progress. Those are the ones where I got it right, but I got it right when I was splitting between 2 possible answers. So it only tells me I've mastered it when I answer a question with confidence. And there's 17 that I'm not yet seen out of a total of 25 in this module. So that is Dynamic Study Modules. For me, they're a great pre-lecture tool. Go ahead, Derek.
Terry, that's great. Can you go over why it went to 14 questions and the neuroscience behind that and the curiosity and the dopamine? My phone cut out, and
Absolutely.
I'm not sure you went over that yet.
Yeah, I did go over that, and it wasn't 14. It's between 6 and 8 questions. We see between 6 and 8 questions, and just as a reminder, because that actually was in the video earlier, the reason for that is the short-term memory of humans lets you memorize in the short term between 6 and 8 items. It's why originally phone numbers were like 7 digits long. If I give you a list of 3 or 4 or 5 items to remember, you're going to pretty easily remember that. So we saw less than 8 questions before we got our review. If we looked at more, the students are going to be forgetting what they had already answered. So we're keeping that list of questions that we see before the review short so that they have in mind the stuff they need to learn. Thanks for asking, Derek, and yes, we did have that.
One more question. When a student picks between 2 questions, it's between this question or this answer and this answer, what's going on in their mind when they understand they got one of the answers right, but then they have to continue on to answer more questions before they find out what the real answer is?
I love that. That's the effect of both the gaming specialist on the team and the neuroscientist. There's just enough of a ding, you did a good job there, to give them a dopamine reward and have them feeling good about themselves, and sparks their curiosity to keep them going because they want to find out what that right answer was.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Terry. Once again, you've described dynamic study modules brilliantly. We've gone a little bit more in depth in this discussion so that you could understand and can understand in depth what this does and why in A&P it is absolutely important. Do you have any stories to tell about students that use dynamic study modules that you might want to share before we sign off?
I do, and this actually goes way back to a few years ago before we could even assign these. Dynamic study modules were not originally assignable, and I actually was on the bandwagon that I didn't want them assignable, but boy, did I change my tune. When they first became available, I was a beta tester, so my students got to see them before anybody else in the country, and they actually released fairly late in the spring, like in March, and they showed up around the time the second test was about to come up, and my students in my discussion area in my class management system started digitally yelling at each other in the chat room, say, you guys need to get in there, try those dynamic study modules. So students actually have had a really positive response to them. They initially didn't want online homework before they came to see me in the classroom, but as soon as they started doing these, they said, these things are really helping, so thanks for making them available. So if your instructors are nervous making online homework before a lecture, my students have loved it and applauded the idea.
These are a great first step for those professors who only use their textbook and their PowerPoint to get involved with technology and to get their feet wet. Make sure that you talk about these with people who are using set it and forget it type technologies. Don't go into selling the whole mastering A&P if they want something simple, set it and forget it. This is what you talk about, dynamic study modules. In another module, another education module, we'll learn more about mastering A&P and the professors who they are meant for. But these are meant for the ones that want to use technology that might not be, or just want something very simple, set it and forget it. So thank you, Terry, for your time and your description of dynamic study modules. You'll be hearing from Terry and I again in future study modules inside your personalized study mastering A&P. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks. Yep. See you guys next time.